Hello and welcome to another Green Live. It's my pleasure to welcome you here. We are in the episode 9. Thank you so much for being here. And hello, Carlos, Stamati, Adriana. How are you doing today?
Hello.
Hello,
We're
Carlos.
excellent.
It's great to have you here. All right, everybody. Today is going to be a very interesting day for us to have a great discussion. And just a big disclaimer for all of you out there, I have to say, everything that we're going to discuss today is going to be our point of view because we are passionate about sustainability and we want to go in a profound way to learn more and share everything that we learn with all of you. So the topic of the day is a very interesting one. I will bring this to you. We are talking about the 5 taps that needs to turn off to avoid climate change as we know it. And here's a very interesting framework to help you address your core values and the values of your organization on how you can adapt to the new reality. And going from right to left, you have first consumerism. Uh, we'll be talking about here buy less, give up what you don't need. The next one was going to be water, reduce water consumption. And then meat and dairy, which is about produce less and eat less. Oil and coal, which is keep it in the ground. And finally, we'll be talking about population. And the tap we have to turn off here is irresponsible decisions. So as you can see, it's going to be a packed, very interesting way of discussing those topics. And once again, it's out of our passion, out of what we've been learning. And this is something that we would like to bring awareness to all of you. So I think a great way to start here, Carlos, given that you invented this concept, is to learn how that came from. So what was in your heart when you decided to create this framework to help all of us learn more about climate change?
So I think that climate change is a complicated matter to understand because it has lots of technicalities. If you ask anyone, for starters, why do we measure CO2 in tons if it's in the air? Those simple questions of how come when you burn a ton of fuel, you get 4 tons of CO2. 1 ton of fuel, so immediately translates to 4 tons of CO2. You need to dig a little bit deeper, go a little bit into your own chemistry and understand. So it's complicated, and we don't want people to deal with all those complications. We want people to understand and easily get inspired of which are the possibilities, what they can do. And this 5-tap strategy is a very easy way to communicate what they could be doing. And as you said, we're going to start with the tap at the right hand side, and that was consumerism. Let me just throw a couple of numbers. If we all consume, like, for example, Americans or Europeans consume, we would need 5 planets. We would need 5 planets to be able to deliver all those things that we consume. So it is definitely not sustainable. And why do we do this? Because we are educated like that. Every day we receive 3,000 different ads that invite us to consume. And when you're attacked and your role model is someone that consumes and have stuff, and it is very difficult to stop it. We have this neophilia. We are attracted by the new. We want to change our phone and our car and our laptop. And for those of us that have the privilege to be changing those things. So the reality is that we just are attracted with this immediate gain. We feel the immediate gain of buying something, but we don't feel the losses. We don't feel the impact in the environment. We don't feel the impact in the planet. And the reality is that 6 months after we buy something, just 1% of what we buy, 1% is in use. And these are statistics for North America. And statistics for all over the world is that for every kilo of something that we produce, for example, the laptop with which I'm talking you through, we need 4,000 times its weight in material. So we produce 1 kilogram of laptop, we produce 4,000 kilograms of waste in the process. So there's a lot that we don't use. There's a lot that we don't need, and we can change. And that's the first step that we need to stop. But now let me just finish this saying, okay, for all those companies, for all those manufacturers that are out there and are producing stuff, is this bad news? Absolutely not. If they adapt, what does it mean? It means that we are going from as we all know, from an economy of products to an economy of experiences. So if you ask, for example, fashion buyers what they are interested in terms of sustainability, 66% of them, according to a survey that we have done with Qualtrics in Europe, tells us that they are interested in joining a Second Life program or a sustainability loyalty program in which they are not just rewarded for buying more, for buying new, but for buying secondhand, for recycling, for reusing, for bartering. So there's a lot of money, not in the product, but in the experience, in the community, and doing this transition from a mentality and mindset of I'm gonna extract everything from the planet and I'm just gonna sell stuff, to a mentality, a mindset where you think, okay, I'm gonna connect to the consumer. I'm gonna connect my values. I'm gonna create second life programs. I'm gonna create communities. I'm gonna engage in circular economy. I'm gonna try to get information to consumers of how this has been produced, what is the implication of producing this, the waste that I'm generating, the energy, the water that I'm using. That's a different mindset, and that's a mindset when I meet with companies. That's the mindset that I see. Okay, these people is really understanding the trend and do not see the lack of the declining consumerism only as a threat, but as a big opportunity.
Wow, that's quite amazing. So, if we really look into the circularity of products, Carlos, how you see technology helping consumerism by bringing singularity or a circular economy solutions to the mix?
Well, there's a lot of ways in which technology can help. For example, when you are creating these communities, you need digital twins of every product. You need to track that product. You need to be able to have a virtual representation of that product. So that the world of IoT is going to be big in circular economy. Another way is, for example, making sure that the origin is traceable. So traceability, blockchain, it's also another set of technologies that are going to be important to guarantee that products are what they claim to be, from early raw materials to final production and disposal or reuse. Another way in which technology can really impact circular economy is in tracking, for example, waste, how we track waste, what happens with the products when we stop using it. Yeah, how do they get all the way from my house to the landfill, or from my house to someone else's house? There are so many ways in which technology is an enabler of this circular economy story.
Amazing. I think it got us really ready for going to the second topic of the day, which is water. So, who are going to cover water today?
It's me today. So,
Oh, over to you.
hi, hi everyone today. How are you all? Good? I hope so. So, for water consumption, I was just thinking. When I was a little child, my father always used to say, "Turn off the tap when you're not using the water." And he was used to say that just for making economy, don't pay too much for the water that we are consuming if we're not really using it while you're brushing your teeth. You're not using actually the water all the time, for example. Yeah, or just taking a shower not too long, just what you need and things like that. And it's all coming back a little bit. I think this also changed a bit my behavior. Yeah, so it helped to be more responsible from an economic point of view, but also now for the climate change. It's better if we can reduce our consumption in a responsible way, of course, without eliminating the comfort. So it doesn't mean that we should not take shower, we should not wash our clothes. Just do it in a responsible way. Use eco-efficient washing machines, use the dishwasher rather than wash manually the dishes, and so on. There are small things which really makes the difference. But it's not only about that. It's also about how we manage sustainably the water. So it's about sustainable water management, how we can do that. What is actually sustainable water management, just to start with, is basically being able to satisfy the current needs from an economic point of view, from a social point of view, from an ecological point of view, but also to think about future generations and ensure that they can do the same in the future. By the way, do you know how many liters of water we need in the world in an average amount? It's around 20 to 50 liters per day. I don't know, it's a lot, it's little. Anyway, it's between 20 and 50. This means that somebody consumes the double, somebody consumes less, maybe depending on the lifestyle, who knows, depending on lots of things. But this is a number of liters that it's approved globally. Yeah, they know that we need this amount of water, which is interesting.
Yeah, yes, that's the amount of water that we use as water as raw material. However, that doesn't mean that we're using that water. Just to give you an example, in a burger, uh, if you eat a burger, 2,000 liters of water have been used. So when you're eating your burger, you're not drinking water, but you have to also think of the implications of what you consume that uses water.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're right. There is water also in the burger, if you take it like that, definitely. But let's see where do we have water on the in on Earth? Yeah, we have 97%. It's basically in the oceans, so it's a saline water. We actually cannot use it, or at least not how it is. And only 3% is fresh water. And out of this, out of the fresh water that is 3%, around 70% it's in the ice caps and the glaciers, which, by the way, we are not using again, except for the fact that they are melting with the global warming, and they also get in the oceans in the end, which also adds to another problem, which is rising the sea levels. And so we said 70%, so 70% glaciers and ice caps, and 30% is groundwater or fresh water that we have close to us. And out of these 30%, we have lakes, we have rivers, we have swamps. But if you think about it, it's really very little out of the entire water we have on the earth. So we might think, okay, we could solve this by just using the water in the oceans. Why not? Maybe we could solve the problem of the sea level. And we're actually using that with desalination. Yeah, it's a technology that has been there for years through the reverse osmosis, for example. But it seems that is not that sustainable because it uses lots of energy. So, for example, water treatment, it's more efficient from the point of view of energy. But on the other side, if you would be able to use renewable energy like solar, for example, there's plenty of sun above the oceans, we could definitely improve the sustainability of desalination. Let's also look at the groundwater. Groundwater is very important for the potable drinking water. Yeah, for potable means drinking water actually. So this is very, very important. But groundwater, it also has also some issues because we need to make sure that the water entering, leaving, and being stored in the system is conserved. Yeah. So the way we use it also has a lot of impact in the water level decline, the reduce of the stream flow, the quality of the water, which is directly impacting the local communities. Talking about the surface water, which is also very important, is the one that is sitting in the lakes, in the rivers. This is limited as well, and is unequally distributed all over the world, and is also very impacted. It's impacted a lot by the pollution from various activities, which means that it's not suitable for drinking without further treatment. So what we could do here is to, for example, properly construct dams, which can provide a sustainable water supply. And this can be used, for power generation, irrigation, flood prevention, water diversion, and also for navigation. However, these dams also have an impact on the ecosystem because it impacts the wildlife habitats, the fish migration, the water flow and quality, and socioeconomic impacts are there as well. So there is a lot of things to consider when we do that, and there is a need for a sustainability assessment when doing that. And let's see it also from another angle. We have lots of water around us, but this water also needs to be managed in a sustainable way, and there are lots of stakeholders involved. It's public stakeholders, it's private stakeholders like industry, like us, the citizens, and also all the environmental agencies over there. By the way, there are lots of associations. There is the International Water Association, the Water Foundation, and so on, which helps a lot with lots of policies, legislations, but also best practices, tools, how we can sustainably manage the water that we have. And this applies, of course, to the water providers, to the governments, to the citizens, like I was saying also, which is very important. I was also looking a little bit like at cities when I deep dive on this topic. Like right now we have around 70% of the world population living in cities. And cities are highly impacted by the climate change, being sea level raising, or floods or droughts. Yeah, we have there is not a balance anymore. We either have droughts and water scarcity, where we have floods. So we need to handle this water cycle, which has been changed a lot in the recent years, in a way that ensures we have that amount of water we need for the population. So this brings us towards water-wise cities. Yeah, it means that cities are rapidly expanding, and we need more and more water, and this creates a lot of pressure. But we need to find ways to do more with less, while ensuring that the cities are also resilient to floods, droughts, and the challenges of growing the water scarcity. Then there are lots of principles which helps cities to become water-wise, and there are lots of interesting materials, by the way, from the International World Association around that. But what I was also looking at was how some cities are handling these topics. And there are lots of examples in the world, yeah. So cities are looking at the water treatment that they can do in a more efficient way. So water treatment, what does it mean, water treatment? It means that the water that we are using even in our households, yeah, in our bathrooms, for example, it goes down the drain, but then we need to treat that water and make sure that it gets into the nature again, like clean water on one hand, or secondly, treat it even more and make it available as drinking water. So water treatment is important, but making sure also that we have the amount of water which is needed for the population, and also to make population more responsible in the amount of water that they consume. So there are lots of initiatives all over the globe. Yeah, let's look a little bit at Amsterdam. I was thinking, Netherlands. They have lots of issues right there due to the rising sea level, but not only. They had also lots of storm cloud bursts during many years, and they started to think how they can use that water. So they created this project that is called Amsterdam Rainproof, where basically they created a platform, like a unique collaborative network of public administration, entities, entrepreneurs, and also citizens. And together they are committed to making Amsterdam more resilient to extreme rainfall, both on the small and large scale. Yeah, which means it's in its buildings, in its gardens, in the public areas. For example, something that they did which has a strange name, by the way, which I don't remember. But what they did is basically they created this roof garden. So on the top of the buildings, they have this roof garden, which also serves as an efficient space for water storage, by the way. But it also helps when you have heavy rainfall to have that rainfall going down to the street slowly, yeah, so you don't have the flood when you have a heavy rainfall. But also store that water in a way that when you will have drought, that you can use the water that you stored. Another example is the city of Shenzhen, yeah, in China. Huge city. In a very short time, it became really a huge and modern metropolis. However, the rapid urbanization has brought it also its challenges like water crisis, pollution of the water, floods. So they have begun already since 2004, so since many years now, to implement concepts such as rainfall infiltration, retention, and storage in new construction projects. For example, they did a People Sports Center, which has been built again with green roofs, yeah, rain gardens, and also these special pavements, which could have a capacity to capture more than 60% of the annual rainfall. So there are lots of solutions back there. Also Sydney, for example, in Australia, I've been into Australia in my honeymoon, and while I was flying from I think it was from Sydney to Melbourne, no, from Sydney, sorry, to Fiji actually. I have seen that Australia is really a desert in the end. Most of the continent is desert. Yeah, so they face a lot of drought back there, and this affects also the cities, of course. They had this millennium drought, which has really affected Australia in a very high way. So they are looking at how they can reduce the amount of water that they use and keep it at the consumption level of 2006. Yeah. So they want to keep the city green and cool, and also start to target to maintain the potable water to this low consumption level. So this is also a very important call for the cities, for the citizens to it's a behavioral change in their habits to use less water, but it's also about how they can use it more efficient, how they can reduce the stormwater pollution, minimize the local flood risk whenever they have that, and also enhance the greening and the urban cooling around the city. By the way, in Europe, since you might ask yourself, the European Commission, the European Union in general are doing lot of activities around water consumption. And there is also something that we call WISE, by the way, which is Water Information System for Europe. And basically, they have created what we call the Water Framework Directive, which is the main legislative framework protecting European waters. Yeah, so European Union has a special attention in this as well. And since we are in March, and we are today 17th of March, I must announce you that on the 22nd of March is the World Water Day, by the way. There is a website which is called worldwaterday.org. And they are calling for action from the citizens of the world. This is mainly about what water means to people, is the true value that we can associate to water and how we can better protect this vital resource. So they are
Amazing.
asking for our feedback.
And given that you are so excited about water, we have a question actually from our audience. I'm bringing here Mohaj, who is asking, I think a summary of everything that you said right now. Is it good news or bad news, everything you said? And it goes with his question. Are we in danger of running out of fresh water? Thank you for the question. And what is our future about when it comes to water, Adriana?
Yes, that's a very good question. Thank you, Mohaj. Yes, there is this danger. It's out there, but as you have seen, there are a lot of actions happening there since many years that maybe we were not even aware of. So cities around the world, governments around the world, European Commission is really doing a lot in order to control this. Because in the end, like I said, climate change has ruined this balance. So we have either droughts or floods. We were talking the last day, if you remember, we talk about climate change, but what we get is weather. Yeah. So we don't actually see the climate change because we just see the weather outside. But think about the droughts, think about the floods, think about the lack of snow. in some situations. These are things that we are getting, and yes, there is this danger, but together with all these actions, we hope that it will not happen.
Fantastic. Amazing. So we have trouble, we have issues, but also we have several ways of addressing solutions. It's great to know. Uh, are we moving to the next topic now?
Let's go for it.
Yes.
Of course.
All right. So let's see our framework here once again. Turning off climate change. We are talking about one tap at a time so we can avoid a climate disaster, everybody. We already covered consumerism with Carlos, and Adriana was covering water. And now we have meat and dairy, which is something that I think, Stamatia, you're covering for us, right?
No,
I'll do
Carlos.
that one.
Oh,
So
Carlos,
just
over to you.
yeah, I'll try to be quick. Look, the idea of this five-step strategy is to give us some guidance of what we can do. And the good news is that we don't need to do 100% in any of them. By cutting, for example, meat and dairy consumption 50%, we're doing a great job. So if you're eating meat, I don't know, 4 times a day, 4 times a week, sorry. So you can reduce 50% by eating twice a week. Or you can switch to the incredibly good meat alternatives, vegetarian alternatives that now, uh, it's hard to taste the difference in one of these burgers, for example, etc., etc. So there are many things that we can do. We don't have to go all the way. We don't have to become vegans. We don't have to become vegetarians. If you want, go ahead. It's but it is a way to go one step at a time. At the end of the day, what you have to do is did my part? Did I do my part today? Did I am I fighting to get better as a person, as an inhabitant of this planet? Now, it is important to understand why you do this, and it's important to have some clarity on some of the science behind. When we're talking about a burger, I'm taking this example all the time because I think it's easy for us to relate to. More burgers means less trees. Unfortunately, the first effect of meat consumption is the land use change. So we are just cutting trees, trimming trees to use that land to grow food for our animals, and that is something that has a direct impact, not only for the greenhouse gas emissions that we are creating with the animals, but also the CO2 that we are now capturing with those trees. Now, let me tell you that you remember these pictures when you were a little kid of you having one stomach and cows having 4 different compartments in their stomach. And the reason for that is that the food falls in one of them and then it goes to the others and it produces methane. And then the cows expel that methane. And that is much more powerful than CO2 in terms of how much it heats up the atmosphere. In fact, it's 28% more powerful. So the way animals eat and digest is having a huge impact. And not only the way they eat, but the way they produce excrements. It's also producing another greenhouse gas that is called the nitrous oxide. And this one is more than 200 times more powerful than CO2. I'm telling you this so you understand that eating meat has an impact on land use. It has an impact on how animals eat and eat. And at the end of the day, it has a big impact in the emissions. Now, let's not get crazy. If you love the burger, eat your burger. The only difference is eat your burger on a particular day or do a meatless Friday. Do your part and close the tab a little bit. Let's go to the next tab.
By the way, if I can make just a small comment here, it's not only about the climate change here, but let's think also from a health point of view. So I have a small baby, and we had to move from milk, to real food. And when I was doing that, I was looking at the nutritious, the nutriments that the baby needs to take, and what they recommend is to have red meat once a week, white meat twice a week. And all the other times, because the baby always needs to get also proteins, they recommend beans, soy, stuff like that, but also a lot of fish. So it's also about the health, not only about climate change.
Great. So, looking at our framework here, we go now to the next one, which is oil and coal. Who is going to cover that?
I will cover that. And this is a real topic that I try to find something. This is a nice topic that I try to find some information. The electricity is a common commodity now. You just click a button and you have lights. You open your coffee machine. You open the TV. So you think that everything is easy. But I would like to spend 2 minutes to explain, for those that are not aware, how the system works besides, this click of a button. So if you, Pedro can share my first slide. So how the system works in the plant. So if you see at the step 1, the gas, the oil, or the coal are burnt. The gases, the combustion smoke from that burnt goes out at the atmosphere in step 2, and this is the gases that pollute the atmosphere. The burner is heating a boiler with the water, and in a step 3, and the stream that comes out from that heat is out in a great pressure and goes in step 4, where it moves a turbine. That turbine is connected with a magnet, which that magnet is inside a wire coil, and the movement of the magnet, it creates the electric current in step 6. Now, the stream from the turbine, it becomes water and then goes back to the boiler again. And the pipes that the stream is in are being sprayed with again with water, so as to condense. And that water evaporates and goes into the atmosphere through towels, and this is in step 8. After that process, and after we get the electric current, then with a network with cables and electric towels, gives this power into our homes, into the factories, and everywhere. So as you can imagine, the process is some kind of complicated, and a lot of gases are emitted. And as we are in that, if you can also share the same slide, Pedro, as we are in that slide, it's more important to see how the renewable energy are using, because they are so important, and we refer to the renewable energies too often. So in the renewable energies, the 1, 2, and 3 steps are not used. So the movement of the turbine is being done either by the wind or by a movement of the water, hydroelectric. So physical, let's say, natural resources, let's say physical resources, can move the turbine, and we do not need the 1, 2, and 3 steps. In the terms of the solar panels, it's something different, because the sun, it's converted directly to electricity. That is why the renewable energy is so important. We do not have carbon dioxide into the atmosphere by using them. So I would like to say that nearly the 80% of the greenhouse gas emissions comes by the energy production, either for the electricity or from the industry, the households, and the transportation. The electricity is the one thing that we consume inside the house. What we consume as individuals outside the house, and it is the gases that coming out from the cars that we use. And for example, if you can share, Pedro, also the next slide, the 30% of the CO2 emissions comes from transportation, and the passengers' cars are the major polluters with 6.7%. 6.7%, as you can see here, are individual cars CO2 emissions in the atmosphere in the European Union. So as you can see, as individuals, we just our movements by clicking the button and open the lights, or by taking our cars to go somewhere, pollute the environment. What are the actions that we can do as individuals, and also the industries can do, so as to help on that direction? So I have also another slide, Pedro, if you can share. So there are a number of slides as individuals we can do. We can switch off the lights. We can wash our clothes less often or use cool water. What is important is to unplug the appliances when they are not in use. Buy appliances with a good energy rating, and pick the machines and the refrigerators that are energy efficient. We can use meters to capture the real-time usage of that specific appliance. We can insulate, for example, the roof, close the windows and doors so as to capture the heat inside. And on the other side, we cannot use the car so often. We can use a cycle, we can walk, we can use a public transport, and something that also Carlos mentioned in the previous lives, do longer travels than travel often. Dedicate, for example, 1 week for your vacations, instead going on vacations every weekend. Another thing is use electric cars or switch electricity to green power. And these are some actions that individuals can do. What are the actions that electricity providers can do? First, it is engage the citizens. We did a survey together with Qualtrics, and we saw that we asked 1,020 people in Spain and Italy. The 30% of the responders mentioned that they can contribute to the decarbonization of the processes. So it means that the citizens want to participate and take action together with the electricity company. Another actions that individual can take, it is the social competition. It is interesting that a university in California did a competition, and they used posters. They used red, green, and yellow posters. Red for those that consumes a lot of electricity, green for those that they're doing well, and a yellow star for those that they're doing really, really well. It is important that the 20% of the energy was reduced from those houses. And this was really helped a lot, because each individual was comparing himself and his household with the neighbor's household. And this helped a lot to the reduction of the energy. Of course, the providers should inform the households about their CO2 emissions, give reports to compare with the neighbors, distribute meters to household to use, and get the message out clearly about the impact of the environment and how it affects our children. Also in the survey that we did with Qualtrics, we saw that there is a lack of awareness. Almost 20% of the answers mentioned that the environmental policies of the utilities companies were not clearly communicated to them. So it is really important for the companies to take action on that direction. And of course, use renewable energy. Renewable energy, is it something that all of the governments, all of the companies, and everyone should boost, as there are some resources that actually never end. The sun is always there until now. Okay, we will see if we destroy the environment so much and we will lose the sun. But the sun is there, the water is there, the wind is there. So let's use those resources so as to generate electricity.
Wow.
That was it.
That was very, very profound. Thank you so much, Stamatia. You actually brought something, so controversial sometimes, right? Because I mean, our life runs in a way that creates quality, but at the same time affects the planet, right? And the actions that you brought to us at an individual level and also at an organization level to explore opportunities and breakthroughs that are necessary for energy and everything that you have covered is so much important. Thank you so much for your research and sharing all that research with all of us.
Thank you.
And we arrived
Any comments? Last one.
Yeah, we arrived to the last stop, Pedro.
All right, so I am the one who will be talking about the last step to turn off, which is population. And I cannot talk about population without sharing my personal story. And right now, I'm going to be very personal with you. So I'm here on this earth, but my family didn't plan for that. My mom didn't plan for me to be here. As a matter of fact, I never met my biological father. So I was not planned at all. But I tell you something, every life in this earth has a purpose. And if you are in this earth, you are here to fulfill that purpose. So to talk about population and really address the huge topics we had ahead of us, first we have to give value to life, which is actually essential for everything around us. We are happy because of people around us, because we help people. And perhaps the purpose of my life was to be here organizing some of those calls and bringing to you some awareness so every life can make a contribution. But when we look at the climate issue and we look at data, here is the situation. Every feet means more heat. So there is a very high correlation between the world population growth and the carbon emission growth. And that's just in front of us as a huge problem. And when I look at that problem, we think of data, right? And data from the University of London, British Columbia, suggested that the single most effective measure an individual in the developed world could take to cut their carbon emissions over the long term could be to have one fewer child, right? And here, ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, there's no other way. We gotta work on education. We gotta be more responsible. And that level of responsibility will grow as long as we have brought education to people so that parents will understand, the implication of, their children in the world. And that would mean a lot of responsibility for the planet. But if we continue further in this analysis, I will bring you to another slide here, which is very important. And let's be clear about the data here. The consumption emissions per person, they are actually higher in the developed countries, which means that in the developed countries, they have a huge responsibility on top of all other countries Just compare US, UK, and China against, for instance, Nigeria here, right? The carbon emission of those countries per capita is so much higher. So yes, I have to say that it starts with the developed countries, right? Most of the mess we are facing right now is actually because of the rich countries, and the poorest will be the ones suffering the most. So if you are from a rich country, if you're rich yourself, just imagine how much you have a responsibility in front of you. But actually, we can extrapolate that and bring to everybody. So when we look at this second topic here, because of these, numbers, we see a huge opportunity for us to invest in more education, invest on skilling people that they understand the magnitude of the problem. And this goes worldwide, not only for the developed countries. So population is the most, difficult topic to say here. Like I said, every life has a purpose, but we need education and we need to be responsible in our decisions when it comes to family and to everything around us. So, any comment, everybody?
Just as an easy guide for our everyday life, now that with Adriana, Samatia, and Pedro, we understood a little bit more the science or the whys or the implications. It's just to look at that 5-tap strategy one last time, Pedro. And it's so easy. It's so easy. What I want to tell you is the feeling that you have when you do that, when you try to consume less, to have your life less full of stuff and more full of meaning, to be closer to people and not closer to things. When you do your efforts to consume less water, as Adriana's father told her, when you do your best to just being able to eat that burger, but missing that burger today for the sake of climate, when you do things for a meaning, for a reason, you grow, you are a better person, you feel better. When you, for example, use public transportation because you understand that those energies should be kept under the ground, or when you finally do a family planning decision based on your responsibility, all those just makes you grow, make you a stronger person, and make you a better contributor in this world. So it's the inspiration and the feeling that you get when you go through this journey at your own rhythm. And the companies know this. They know what the consumers are demanding. They know that their actions needs to be geared towards these taps, and that's our hope.
And with hope, we come to the end of this segment of the episode number 9. I'm very glad, everybody, that every week we are growing in our communication capabilities, in our research, and the ability to share things that are meaningful to everybody. So once again, thank you very much. And as usual, comes my question at the end of those calls: what you are up to new, and what you are researching, and what you can bring next week to our audiences.
Yeah, one suggestion, one idea from my side here. Thank you for the question, Pedro. Always thinking at the future. We could talk about travel and transportation and how can this affect the gas emissions, but also how did COVID impacted on travel and transportation industry? What are the challenges over there? We definitely reduced some emissions, but maybe it's not enough. So let's deep dive on that topic, if you
Yes.
agree.
Let's go for it.
Yes, this is a nice topic, Adriana, and a big topic.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
I fully agree. I'm very excited about that. So, everybody, thank you so much for joining. As you can see, we are bringing a lot of value to you, and I cannot let you go without a special invitation. Check this out.